Welcome to today's book summary. We're diving into Her Ladyship's Guide to the Art of Conversation by Caroline Taggart. This book is all about using empathy to make your chats warmer and more engaging. I'll break down the key ideas for you over the next 15 minutes. Have you ever been stuck in those awkward moments? Your boss wants to chat, but you've got nothing beyond work talk. Or you're at a party, don't know a soul, and can't figure out how to break the ice. Maybe you've been rambling to a friend, only to realize they're about to doze off. Sound familiar? These are classic signs that your conversation skills might need a tune-up. So, how do we become conversation ninjas? Caroline Taggart, a British author and media pro, has some great tips to share. Taggart's been in the game for a while. She's worked on big BBC documentaries and has spent over 30 years in publishing. She's the go-to person for helping socially awkward writers become the life of the party. In this book, she boils down her experience into one main idea. Great communication is all about shifting your mindset and using empathy to make others feel valued. We're going to focus on two main things today. First, what empathy in conversation really means. Second, 3 practical empathy techniques you can start using right away. Part 1. Empathy in Conversation 101. Taggart sees conversation like a game of beach volleyball. When the ball comes your way, you've got a chance to hit it. In conversation, that's your moment to drop an engaging comment or question. Just like in volleyball, you don't want to hog the ball. The conversation pros know how to set up their chat partners, making it easy to keep the volley going. When you nail the timing and position, you've got a smooth conversation flow. Here's a quick story. Taggart's friend went on a painfully awkward blind date. The friend tried to break the ice with, "Where are you from?" The date gave a one-word answer and clammed up. The friend tried again with, "What did you study?" Same result, brief answer, then silence. Here's the thing, small talk isn't just killing time. It's your chance to get to know someone. Asking, "Where are you from?" is really an invitation for them to share a bit about themselves. The more you know, the more likely you are to find common ground. Want to avoid those awkward silences? It's simple. After answering a question, just toss it back with a, "How about you?" Boom, conversation flowing. Taggart wants us to see conversation differently. It's not a chore or a challenge. It's an opportunity. The best chats aren't competitions or filled with empty words. They're relaxed exchanges of ideas and emotions. And the secret ingredient? Empathy. So, what's empathy in conversation? It's putting yourself in the other person's shoes, thinking about what they need, and making them feel comfortable. The conversation rock stars are genuinely curious about others. They sidestep monologues and awkward silences, always on the hunt for mutual interests. Taggart's pro tip: ask about the other person in different ways. Try, "What's your take on that?" Or, "Could you tell me more about that?" These show you're really listening, which makes people feel good. To flex your empathy muscles, pay attention to how people respond. Their views on a topic can clue you into their interests. Say a group's chatting about the weather, and someone mentions their garden. That's your cue to ask about their green thumb. Sometimes, the real gold is in what people don't say. If someone's trying to sell you on an investment and they're all about high returns, you might want to ask about the risks. You can also learn a lot from how people talk. Some love metaphors, others are always quoting books. When you notice these patterns, you can engage them more effectively. Another key piece of the empathy puzzle is the give and take of information. Many conversation pros put a lot of stock in weak ties, those casual acquaintances or friends of friends. Why? They're like surprise packages of opportunity. That person you chat with by the coffee machine, they might end up recommending you for a great gig. Building these weak ties takes observation and empathy. Think about what you can offer, your experiences, your expertise, and weave these into your responses. Also, think about what you'd like to learn from them so you can ask thoughtful questions. So that wraps up our first big idea: empathy in conversation. It's about considering the other person's needs, trying to see things from their angle, and making them feel at ease. It means being genuinely interested in others, tuning into their responses, and balancing the info you give and receive. Now that we've covered that, let's move on to 3 practical techniques for empathetic conversation: external factors, topic selections, and emotional exchange. All right, let's dive into how we can use external factors to practice empathy in conversation. We're talking about your appearance, facial expressions, and body language. In social situations, first impressions matter a lot. Dressing appropriately can make others feel comfortable and give them a good first impression of you. If you give a stranger a negative first impression, they might avoid further interaction. So, how do we nail that first impression? Taggart says it starts with your appearance. You don't need to be in a suit all the time, but try to match your outfit to the atmosphere. For example, before a party, you might want to check with the host about the theme and who's coming. Dressing appropriately shows you've got social awareness. Here's a tip: don't overthink it. Some people go overboard, wearing super formal outfits or heavy makeup to casual gatherings. This can actually show a lack of confidence. Just choose clothes that make you feel comfortable and confident. Once you're at the event, forget about your appearance. Don't keep fiddling with your clothes. It makes you look nervous. Instead, smile and join in confidently. Beyond appearance, your body language can affect how much others want to talk to you. Eye contact is crucial. Avoiding eye contact can make you seem disinterested or shy, but staring too much can feel aggressive. The sweet spot? Look at their eyes, then their mouth, then back to their eyes. Not occasionally to show you're listening. It might sound complicated, but it becomes natural with practice. From a psychological perspective, our body language reveals our true thoughts. Hands in pockets while standing can make you look lazy or bored. Leaning back while talking might suggest discomfort or disinterest, while leaning slightly towards the person shows you're engaged. Crossing your arms can signal defensiveness. These seemingly small gestures can actually reveal your emotions and affect others' impressions of you. Personal space matters too. Generally, about a meter's distance is comfortable for most people who don't know each other well. This allows for some physical interaction without making anyone uncomfortable. Now, let's talk about choosing conversation topics. The goal is to make your chats warm and interesting. You want to pick topics that encourage both people to share their views. If one person's doing all the talking and the other's just nodding, the conversation's likely to fizzle out. Open-ended questions are your friend here. These are questions that can't be answered with a simple yes or no. For example, instead of asking, "Have you been to Japan?" you could say, "What's your dream travel destination?" This gives the other person a chance to share more about themselves. When starting a conversation, try to pick topics from your immediate surroundings. At a house party, comment on the host's book or music collection. When introducing yourself, give some concrete information about your relationship to the host or your job. This can provide a jumping-off point for further conversation. To keep conversations interesting, you need to be an interesting person yourself. Stay informed about what's happening in the world. This reduces the risk of running out of things to talk about. Expand your knowledge beyond celebrity gossip. Stay up to date on current events so you have thoughtful opinions to share. Also, actively look for interesting and friendly aspects in others. Chat with someone who's interested in the same artwork at a museum. Ask your gym buddy about their favorite exercises. Even when grocery shopping, you can chat with the vendor about the day's specials. The point isn't to make new friends everywhere, but to develop a habit of noticing interesting things about others. Lastly, prepare some question templates beforehand. Ask about hobbies, recent good books, funny stories, or vacation plans. These questions shift the focus to the other person, encouraging them to talk about themselves. People generally enjoy talking about their interests, and they'll likely find you interesting as a result. In everyday chats, we often discuss personal matters, both happy and sad. These topics can be tricky. You don't want to step on any conversational landmines. To avoid sensitive topics, try to get a sense of the other person's views first. If you know they admire a certain public figure, don't criticize that person. For parties, it's helpful to ask the host if there are any touchy subjects to avoid, like recent divorces or deaths in the family. When meeting people from various professions, avoid asking for professional advice in social settings. Don't ask a doctor about medical treatments or a lawyer about legal issues at a party. People are there to relax, not work. If you do stumble into an awkward topic, the best move is to change the subject. If that's difficult, have some go-to phrases ready like, "That's a long story. Let's talk about something more fun," or "We can discuss that later. What else is new?" Another trick is to pause briefly to signal you'd rather not discuss the topic, then introduce a new one. If you find yourself disagreeing with someone, it's often best to avoid direct confrontation in social settings. You might say something like, "That's an interesting perspective," to sidestep conflict. To sum up, choose open-ended topics, prepare some interesting questions, and try to avoid sensitive issues. This approach will help you practice empathy more effectively in your conversations. The third technique for practicing empathy in conversation is emotional exchange. This is all about reading the room and adjusting your conversation based on the emotional climate. Here's the deal. Even when you're talking to the same person, their mood and goals can vary depending on the situation. To really nail empathy, you need to tune into the emotions behind what people are saying. Put yourself in their shoes and tailor your conversation to their needs. For example, when you're at a party and there's a heated debate, it's smart to be extra sensitive to others' feelings. If you're discussing single-parent families and notice someone looking uncomfortable or making excuses to leave, they might have a personal connection to the topic. That's your cue to change the subject. Remember, blurting out your opinions isn't always the best move. It's not about being real or authentic. It's about being considerate. Saying whatever's on your mind without thinking about others can come across as rude and might offend people. Always gauge the situation and the other person's mood before sharing your views. In celebratory settings like weddings or birthday parties, try to match the upbeat vibe. The host invited you to share in their joy, so even if you're not feeling great, it's best to put on a happy face and join in the celebration. When visiting someone in the hospital, consider the patient's feelings. They're probably feeling down, so your job is to offer support and encouragement. Ask how they're feeling, if there's anything you can do to help. You can also chat about cheerful topics to lift their spirits. Be sensitive to their energy levels. Sometimes just sitting quietly and holding their hand is enough. One key to understanding others' emotions is becoming a good listener. When you want to join an ongoing conversation, start by listening. Get a feel for the content and the emotional tone. For instance, if you overhear friends discussing a basketball game, listen for a bit to understand their viewpoints and emotional states before jumping in with your own take. Here's a smooth way to change the subject. After listening carefully, say something like, "That reminds me of," and then steer the conversation in a new direction. It's a polite way to shift gears without abruptly cutting someone off. Different situations call for different approaches. By truly putting yourself in others' shoes, people will feel your genuine interest and warmth. They'll be more likely to open up to you, making your social interactions more rewarding and broadening your perspective. To sum it all up, we've covered 2 main points today: what empathy in conversation means, and 3 practical techniques for empathetic conversation. First, empathy is about making others feel comfortable in conversation. It requires genuine interest in others, paying attention to their responses, and balancing the give and take of information. Then we dived into 3 practical techniques. 1. External factors. This includes your appearance, facial expressions, and body language. In social settings, appropriate dress and demeanor can make others feel at ease and more willing to engage with you. 2. Topic selection. Choose open-ended topics that encourage others to share. To keep conversations interesting, expand your knowledge, actively look for interesting aspects in others, and prepare some question templates. 3. Emotional exchange. Read the room. Consider the emotional context of different situations and adjust your conversation accordingly. Learn to listen well, picking up on unspoken cues and finding the right moment to contribute to the conversation. While this book shares many communication techniques, the author emphasizes empathy as the most crucial skill. It's about carefully considering what others need and making them feel comfortable. This empathy comes from genuine sincerity. When you consider others' feelings and perspectives in conversation, they're more likely to open up to you. This give and take of empathy is the heart of effective communication. And that wraps up our summary of this insightful book on the power of empathy in conversation. Remember, the key to great communication isn't just about what you say, it's about how you make others feel. Happy chatting, everyone.